Welcome, Flameborn! We have a new world to discover. One of the most wishlisted games on Steam finally released into early access this week. Yes, I'm talking about Enshrouded, a game that promises exciting combat and limitless building potential. But does it live up to the hype? Let's dig in and find out. Starting with, what is it exactly? Enshrouded describes itself as an open-world survival RPG, with a big focus on exploration, crafting, and base building. It also has quests, boss battles, puzzle mechanics, and a fully fledged crafting system. The story takes place in the mythical world of Embervale, where a mysterious fog plagues the lands, corrupting everything it touches. You play as a Flameborn, a superhuman of sorts created to fight back against the creatures of the Shroud. But the plague is not your only challenge, because the world is full of dangerous beasts and bloodthirsty bandits, so you'll need to build your way up from nothing if you want to fight the final boss. Speaking of fighting, let's talk about combat. The easiest way to describe it is soulslike, so a lot of movement, dodging, and timing your hits. While gear and buffs can help in battle, some degree of skill is required for pretty much every encounter. But how you play is entirely up to you. You select your skills from this massive tree, and broadly speaking, there are 3 classes. The ranged weapon specialties are Survivor, Beastmaster, Ranger, or Assassin. All of these will give you unique perks towards dexterity, stealth, and primarily bow-based attacks. For melee hand-to-hand combat, you can choose from Athlete, Barbarian, Warrior, or Tank. The perks in these trees will focus on strength, damage mitigation, and pure attack power. For magic users, you have a choice between Battle Mage, Wizard, Healer, and Trickster. A lot of the abilities here are especially great for teams since they focus on healing, buffing allies, and crowd control. Some skills can even be accessed from different branches. For example, you can select double jump from both the Athlete and the Survivor trees. I'm a really big fan of this style of leveling system because it offers a lot of flexibility. There are skill point prerequisites, but no mandatory linear path. That means that you can play as a tanky mage, or a stealthy warrior, or anything in between. The respec cost is also quite cheap, so you can afford to experiment. Combat is not the only area where you get a lot of freedom though. One of the most exciting things about Enshrouded is its building potential. It uses what they're calling a voxel-based building system, which allows for more intricate shaping of the environment. Now, there are a ton of complicated explanations as to how it works, but I think the simplest way to describe it is grid-based. Some examples of voxel games include Minecraft, 7 Days to Die, and Teardown. If you've experimented with these, you'll probably like the building in Enshrouded. You can craft hundreds of blocks at a time using different materials, and then manually place and remove them from the world. This can be a little time-consuming, but a godsend for those who want to work on really detailed replicas and intricate building designs. If you want to speed things along, you can access pre-made blueprints using the construction hammer. There are various shapes like foundations, roofs, and ramps. Using these, you can put together a building in a few minutes. It also allows those of us without great building skills to house our villagers. If destruction is more your thing, you'll probably like this system as well, because the game allows you to dig up and explode pretty much everything. You can use the grenades the game gives you, or a simple pickaxe, to dig a bottomless pit anywhere you choose. Or just get back at the bandits by blowing up their base. Quick side note, there is currently no creative mode or cheats mode available for the game, so if you want to build a massive castle, you will need to manually get all the resources for it. This will likely change in the future, but it's just something to keep in mind. Another great reason to build up your base though is to facilitate crafting, which is a fundamental part of the game. The crafting system is pretty robust and includes everything from cooking to processing to farming and even weapon and armor crafting. The majority of the recipes are also fairly complex and require various steps and multiple workstations. The crafting tiers can be broken down into 4 different types. There's inventory crafting, which is the most basic. These are items you can make on the go anytime as long as you have ingredients. Workbench crafting, which allows you to make more complex recipes, but mainly camp items and building blocks. It will also repair all of your equipment anytime you interact with it. NPC crafting, which requires you to house and shelter NPCs in order to use them. And lastly, station crafting, which produces specialized items. For example, a drying rack is used to automatically dry leather over time. This is a pretty in-depth system, which I think a lot of people will enjoy. Unlocking new recipes does feel rewarding, and gathering doesn't seem overly tedious like it can with some other survival games. Another thing to note is Enshrouded doesn't have the classic hunger, thirst, and exhaustion mechanics that a lot of survival games do. Instead, it uses different food, foods, water, and rest as temporary bonuses to your character. While this may not seem significant, one simple cooked meat can double your health bar, and a mushroom can help you regenerate mana, so there's plenty of incentive to look after your character. Outside of crafting, building, and surviving, you have more objectives to complete, so let's look at the overall gameplay. First, there is questing. The game is full of quests that you get from various places, including notes, NPCs, and points of interest around the map. They can open up new locations and point you in the direction of resources that are very worthwhile completing. Boss battles. There are several boss locations on the map that allow you to test your skills against some powerful enemies. Each boss has a chance to drop some very nice loot pieces, including weapons and armor. The bosses do respawn as well, so you can farm them for legendary loot. Exploration. The map of Enshrouded is massive, and it rewards you for exploring all the corners. You can come across some interesting surprises and experience some new biomes if you search around, which leads into treasure hunting. There are so many hidden chests and treasures to find around the map. Something as simple as a note can lead you into a cave with buried underground treasure. To get the best ones, however, you'll probably need to do some puzzle solving. There are a ton of puzzles within the world, complex towers, locked doors, and sneakily hidden treasure chests inside the ground. If you love solving puzzles, you'll probably enjoy this. And lastly, following stories. This may not be important for everybody, but for those who love storytelling, the game is full of interesting notes and NPC dialogue that brings the world to life. As someone who loves lore in games, I found them to be very well written and interesting to follow. For those who hate it, don't worry, it's optional for the most part. My first impressions with the game have been overall positive. It has a good concept, an interesting world, and a lot of potential. I stumbled across a few random bugs while playing, including one that just outright didn't let me leave the tutorial area until I rebooted the game. But there was nothing that basic troubleshooting couldn't solve. Like a lot of survival games, the game doesn't really hold your hand, and there's a lot that you need to learn simply by experimenting, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The crafting system can feel a little overwhelming at first, at least it was for me, since there are a ton of items and processing options. The story and progression was very well paced, but I was surprised at how difficult it was to level your character. I completed the first boss before reaching level 3. If you want to follow along with my Enshrouded journey, I'm streaming my playthrough over on Twitch. Come say hello if you have the time. I'd love to chat about the game and answer any questions you might have. Which leads us to the most important question: is it worth it? In short, absolutely. Enshrouded is a game with a unique and interesting concept. It has a good balance of different activities, so gameplay doesn't feel repetitive, and the open world nature allows you to focus on what you enjoy most. If you love building, adventure, and story, and you're looking for a new survival game, I would say it's absolutely worth your time and its $30 price tag. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.